Welcome back to another explainer. So let's dive right in, because today we're unpacking a story that completely flips the traditional hero's journey on its head. We're tracking the dark, honestly kind of twisted evolution of a guy named Fang Shu. He starts out as this absolutely terrified victim trapped in a mind-bending situation and slowly, brutally transforms into a ruthless mastermind. If you're into high-stakes psychological thrillers with supernatural twists, and an anti-hero who uses pure willpower and trial and error to beat monsters at their own game, you are absolutely going to love what we've got in store today. Okay, think about this terrifying hook. What would you do if your beautiful new wife literally killed you every single time you noticed her? That's the absolute nightmare Feng Shu wakes up to. He finds his consciousness transferred into a new body, in some strange apartment, with a wife who seems, well, perfect, until he realizes she's actually a monstrous entity. If he looks at her directly, if he reacts to her bizarre transformations, or even acknowledges she exists, she instantly devours him. No warning. He is basically trapped in the deadliest game of pretend you could ever imagine. And he's forced through a really brutal crucible. Think of it kind of like a video game where you respawn at a save point, but here's the catch. You feel the absolute agony of death every single time. Take Death 1. Her monstrous tongue touches his face, he flinches, and boom, dead. Death 6. His acting slips up for a second while looking at his phone. Done. It actually takes him 18 agonizing, painful deaths to finally figure out the rules, completely control his micro-expressions, and just walk out the front door. But look, this trial and error nightmare, it fundamentally breaks him. It strips away all his human fear and hardens his psyche into cold, unfeeling steel. But when he finally steps outside, he definitely doesn't find the normal world. Instead, he steps into this deformed, red reality that's overlapping with ours. To survive in this nightmare dimension, humans have to absorb spiritual energy. It's this dark, freezing power you pull directly from the ghosts themselves. Honestly, it's the only way to fight back. And Feng Shu, fresh off 18 brutal deaths, decides right then and there he's going to get enough of this energy to go back and kill his monster wife. Section 1. The Haunted Hospital Escape. The Bloody Maze. So Feng Shu actually tries to go to his normal real estate job, but surprise, his office building has terrifyingly overlapped with an abandoned mental hospital. Now he's trapped with this horrifying entity known as the Ghost Doctor, and this is where his chilling character development truly kicks in. Because for him, surviving means sacrificing the innocent. While his coworkers are panicking and begging for help, Feng Shu is just coldly observing the monster. He deduces the Ghost Doctor's attack patterns, realizing she can only kill and eat one person every 2 to 3 minutes. So, he literally uses his terrified coworkers as human bait to buy himself time. He physically kicks them into the monster's path. Yeah, his conventional morality, completely gone. But here is the crucial point. He uses that time he just bought to strike. Feng Shu purposefully touches the Ghost Doctor to absorb a tiny fraction of her power. We're talking a mere 1% of spiritual power, but more importantly, he ruthlessly steals her primary weapon, the Ghost Scalpel. Now, these cursed weapons are infused with intense pain and resentment, but because Feng Shu has already died 18 times, his pain tolerance is completely off the charts. It allows him to wield this incredibly dangerous weapon without his mind instantly shattering. Moving on to Section 2, Breaking the Dream Illusion, a Bizarre Escape. So Feng Shu and his friend Zhao Hao finally managed to escape that hospital, and they think they've made it back to their normal office. Nightmare over, right? Yeah, dead wrong. They realize the entire normal office is actually a massive nightmare illusion controlled by this bizarre flaming eyeball creature. To break out, Feng Shu figures out a 3-step process. Step 1, realize it's an illusion. Step 2, trigger extreme emotions to shock the system. Step 3, wake up. Now, because standard fear just isn't working on Zhao Hao, Feng Shu hilariously decides to use a very different extreme emotion. He forces his friend to watch his favorite, highly embarrassing adult video right there in the dream. The massive spike in the guy's embarrassment and excitement literally overloads the system and shatters the dream loop. It is highly unorthodox, but hey, it's a completely genius survival tactic. Section 3. Bluffing the Investigation Bureau. The S-ranked prophet. Obviously, with his newfound power and this cursed artifact, Feng Shu attracts the attention of the government's Supernatural Investigation Bureau. They send these highly trained agents to his door to figure out how a normal guy survived a massive spatial anomaly. And guys, this is Feng Shu's ultimate big brain move. So his real power is experiencing infinite, painful trial and error death loops. But he knows if he tells the government he's essentially immortal, they're probably going to lock him up as an anomaly. So instead,
He claims his power is S-rank precognition. Because he's already lived through these events in previous loops and reset the timeline, he can just predict exactly what the agents are going to do, what they're wearing, what they're hiding. He flawlessly bluffs the Bureau into believing he's this godlike prophet.
I absolutely love this quote. To completely sell the lie, he looks the Bureau's powerful Captain Yang dead in the eye and delivers this epic line. I navigate between the future and the past, experiencing countless realities. How cool is that? He then uses his future knowledge, which, remember, is actually just knowledge from a previous death loop, to warn Captain Yang that the Bureau's top commissioner is about to be ambushed and killed. By saving the highest-ranking official in the city, Feng Shu immediately secures massive funding, spiritual coins, and a VIP spot in the Bureau. But the Bureau isn't entirely naive. They hook him up to this highly advanced spiritual lie detector test and hit him with questions like, would you side with the supernatural creatures? And what is your ultimate goal? Feng Shu answers completely truthfully. He wouldn't side with them because his only goal is to completely kill all supernatural creatures in existence. The lie detector shows he's telling the absolute truth. The Bureau's interrogator is literally moved to tears, thinking he's this ultra-noble savior of humanity. But in reality, he passes perfectly because he genuinely is a cold, calculating psychopath who just wants ultimate revenge.
Section 4. Stealing the blood pupil. A ruthless counter.
Of course, Feng Shu's new high-profile status puts a massive target on his back. We cut straight from the safety of the Bureau office to this bloody underground torture room, where an assassin named Lin Zhang tries to kidnap and kill our anti-hero. Now, Lin Zhang thinks he's the torturer here, but Feng Shu quickly turns the tables, making a really ruthless promise. Exactly 1,000 cuts with his cursed ghost scalpel. Because Feng Shu has zero empathy left at this point, he methodically begins executing this dark promise, breaking the assassin's mind entirely. The sheer terror and pain causes the assassin's spiritual energy to go totally out of control, resulting in a mutation that births a terrifying new monster right out of his eye socket. This new monster tries to violently possess Feng Shu's mind. But remember, Feng Shu's mind is a fortress forged in infinite deaths. Let's do a quick inventory check on his arsenal here. He's got the ghost scalpel, he's got 1% base spiritual power, and now, because his immense pain tolerance allows him to completely dominate the parasite mentally, he just absorbs the creature. This grants him the blood pupil eye, upgrading his arsenal so he can induce terrifying hallucinations and spiritual shocks just by making eye contact. Section 5. The Blackwater River Trap. A watery grave. Armed to the teeth, Feng Shu is officially assigned his first field mission with the Bureau. The team arrives at a misty, deeply creepy location known as Blackwater Village to investigate a string of bizarre drownings where people are literally being pulled into the water right from their homes. The team sets up camp in the village, staying together for safety. But as we know, supernatural entities don't really play by normal physical rules. The terrifying reality is that they fall asleep securely in their beds on dry land, only to wake up floating in the middle of a massive, deadly, swirling vortex in the cursed Blackwater River itself. The river is the monster's domain, and it has pulled them right into the dead center of it. So, the absolutely crucial question here is, how on earth does Feng Shu fight this? Think about it. He has a cursed scalpel. He has a cursed eye that requires eye contact. He has his genius bluffs. But how do you stab or bluff a literal body of cursed, swirling water? His physical weapons and mental manipulation seem entirely useless against an elemental enemy that he can't even touch.
And wow, that is the terrifying cliffhanger we're leaving you with today. Will Feng Shu have to experience a horrifying watery death loop to find a way out? Or does his hardened mind hold another crazy trick? You are going to have to join us for the next explainer to uncover the rest of Feng Shu's dark, twisted journey. Until then, keep analyzing, stay focused, and whatever you do, don't acknowledge the monster in the room.